They sang about heaven, yet few ever knew the hell that waited behind their closed doors. Behind those powerful voices that lifted church walls and brought millions to tears, some of gospel's brightest stars were hiding secrets that could have destroyed everything: forbidden love, family betrayal, hidden children, and silent wars with their own faith. These aren't just stories of music and ministry, they're confessions buried beneath Sunday smiles and perfect harmonies. Stay with us as we reveal the untold truth, the 15 most shocking family secrets hidden by gospel legends. Before we begin, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because what you're about to hear will forever change how you see the saints of gospel music. Mahalia Jackson and the Secret Romance. Mahalia Jackson wasn't just the queen of gospel, she was the thunder and the tenderness of a generation's faith. Her voice could lift hearts, move mountains, and bring entire congregations to tears. But behind the radiant glow of her public devotion, there lingered whispers of a love story that could have shaken the church to its very core. Rumors began to circulate during the height of the civil rights movement. Those closest to Mahalia and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. noticed something unspoken, a quiet intimacy that went far beyond friendship. They spent countless hours alone, speaking softly in hotel rooms and private corners after rallies. Some claimed they held hands during late-night prayers, others swore they saw them share tender moments behind closed doors. Gospel historian Bernice Johnson Reagon once hinted at discovering letters between the two, letters filled with words of longing and promises to meet far from the public eye. Even phone records from that era tell a story of nightly calls that lasted for hours. Friends noticed how their faces seemed to light up whenever one spoke the other's name. Church members in Chicago whispered about Mahalia's sudden sparkle, elegant jewelry, fine dresses, and a glow that love alone could explain. They said her songs changed too. The hymns she sang took on a raw, aching passion, as if she were singing not just to God, but to someone she could never fully have. A former housekeeper later revealed that Dr. King often slipped into Mahalia's home through the back door, staying for dinner and long, heartfelt talks that stretched past midnight. She recalled mornings when 2 coffee cups sat on the kitchen table and handwritten notes bearing King's familiar script. When the news of King's assassination broke in 1968, Mahalia was shattered. Those who knew her said her grief was deeper than that of a fellow activist. It was the silent heartbreak of a woman who had lost her soul's companion. She wept backstage before his funeral, whispering words only she and God could understand. For the world, Mahalia Jackson was the voice of hope. But for those who truly looked closer, she was also the voice of a love story, one too sacred, too forbidden, and too human to ever be sung aloud. James Cleveland, the secrets behind the gospel throne. James Cleveland wasn't just a singer, he was the king of gospel, a man who redefined sacred music by blending old church hymns with modern soul. His voice could move entire congregations, and his choirs filled arenas with praise that felt larger than life. But behind that golden crown of gospel glory, there were whispers, quiet, uneasy rumors that followed him through every sermon and every song. In the 1960s and 70s, when the gospel world clung tightly to moral perfection, Cleveland's private life became the subject of silent judgment. People spoke in hushed tones about his close relationships with young male protégés, singers he mentored, housed, and took on the road in the name of music. Some called it kindness, others quiet scandal. Members of his choirs recalled nights at his Los Angeles home, gatherings filled with laughter, music, and men who seemed chosen for reasons beyond their voices. Within church walls, pastors held private meetings, debating how to protect the image of a man who had brought so many to God. Even gospel icon Rance Allen once hinted, carefully, that Cleveland's personal life was complicated, a truth known but never spoken aloud. As the years passed, the rumors never stopped. They only grew heavier. One former choir member alleged that Cleveland crossed personal boundaries during a late 70s tour. No charges were ever filed, but the accusation shook the faith of many who worshipped his talent. Still, the king of gospel carried on, recording, performing, and directing choirs with the same divine fire as always. Yet behind the microphone, something had changed. Cleveland became guarded, his once warm spirit shadowed by a quiet pain. Friends said he lived with secrets that weighed on his soul, unspoken truths that could never survive the judgment of the church he helped build. He remained a legend, but also a mystery. A man whose music saved millions, even as he struggled to save himself. Clara Ward and Reverend C.L. Franklin, the gospel scandal that rocked Detroit. Clara Ward was more than just a gospel legend. She was the heartbeat of a movement. Her powerful voice and flamboyant stage presence brought heavenly fire to church choirs across America. But behind the hallelujahs and applause, whispers began to echo through the pews. Rumors spread that Clara had grown too close to Reverend C.L. Franklin, the magnetic Detroit preacher known as the man with the $1,000,000 voice, and the father of a young Aretha Franklin. At first, it seemed innocent, a few guest appearances at his famed New Bethel Baptist Church. But soon, those visits became frequent, and late-night arrivals at the parsonage didn't go unnoticed. Church members began to talk. Reverend Franklin's reputation as both a gifted minister and a ladies' man only added fuel to the fire. Mahalia Jackson, the queen of gospel herself, was said to have pulled Clara aside one Sunday, warning her that a preacher's charm can save your soul or ruin your name. But by then, the damage was done. The whispers had turned into scandal. Church leaders threatened Reverend Franklin's standing, and Clara quietly stepped back from Detroit's gospel scene. Though both continued to shine in their careers, their reputations bore the stain of that forbidden rumor, a story that blurred the line between faith and desire, leaving the gospel world forever changed. Shirley Caesar and the millionaire controversy. Shirley Caesar, known to millions as the First Lady of Gospel, built her legacy on faith, humility, and service. Her sermons and songs preached simplicity, compassion, and giving back to the poor. But behind that saintly image, whispers began to grow, rumors that the gospel queen might be living a life far more luxurious than she let on. It started with quiet confessions from former staffers who painted a very different picture of Caesar's private world. They described a grand home filled with rare art, custom furnishings, and luxury cars tucked away from public view. To them, it was a lifestyle at odds with the modest servant she portrayed from the pulpit. Soon, even church members began to wonder, where was all the money coming from, and where was it really going? As the gossip spread, allegations became more serious. Some ex-assistants claimed that funds meant for charity were mysteriously redirected into private accounts. Others said they had seen stacks of cash inside Caesar's office, untouched and unaccounted for. Former band members took their grievances to court, accusing her of unpaid wages, and court filings revealed financial details that clashed with her humble public persona. When confronted, Caesar's reaction only deepened the intrigue. Once open and warm, she grew guarded and defensive, refusing to discuss her finances and limiting media access. To critics, that silence was proof she had something to hide. But to her loyal followers, it was simply the reaction of a woman tired of being judged by a world that forgets even the righteous can be flawed. In the end, the story of Shirley Caesar became more than just a scandal. It became a reflection of how faith, fame, and fortune can collide in the most unexpected ways. Sister Rosetta Tharpe's forbidden love story. Sister Rosetta Tharpe didn't just change gospel music, she electrified it. With her fierce guitar riffs and fiery fusion of gospel and blues, she became the godmother of rock and roll, inspiring legends like Elvis Presley and Little Richard. But behind the spotlight and her radiant faith lay a truth she could never fully confess: her love for women. In the strict gospel world of the 1940s and 50s, such a revelation would have destroyed her career and reputation overnight. Yet, those who knew her whispered of tender connections that went beyond friendship. She often toured with the same women for months, sharing hotel rooms, laughter, and stolen moments of affection far from judgmental eyes. Her most intimate bond was with Marie Knight, her singing partner and creative equal. On stage, their chemistry was pure electricity, two souls harmonizing in music and in love. Off stage, witnesses recalled them holding hands, exchanging glances that spoke volumes, and even living as though they were a married couple in secret. A hotel maid in Chicago once claimed to have seen scenes between them that left no doubt of their devotion. As gossip spread through the church community, the backlash was swift and merciless. Some religious leaders called for her banishment, fearing her influence would taint the gospel scene. Others defended her genius, arguing that her music carried a divine spirit no scandal could silence. But the strain of hiding who she truly was took a heavy toll. Friends remembered times when Rosetta became distant, weighed down by loneliness and the suffocating need to appear pure. To quiet the rumors, she later married men, relationships many believed were simply a cover to protect her career. Yet, those closest to her said her heart never truly belonged to any of them. Rosetta carried her secret love to the grave, her story buried beneath the hymns and hallelujahs. Today, the world remembers her not only as a musical trailblazer but as a woman who dared to love freely in a time that demanded silence. James Moore, the voice that carried heaven, but couldn't save himself. Reverend James Moore was a force of nature. His voice could shake the walls of a church, lift broken souls, and make even the hardest hearts weep. But behind that divine power was a man slowly losing a battle no one saw coming. At the height of his fame, Moore seemed untouchable, a gospel icon whose every note felt like a prayer. Yet behind the closed doors of hotel rooms and dressing areas, he was drowning in addiction, loneliness, and the crushing weight of expectations. Band members whispered about strange mood swings and long, silent moments when he'd stare into nothing, lost in a storm only he could feel. Some said they even found traces of drugs among his personal things, a heartbreaking secret for a man who preached salvation. Financial troubles soon followed. Despite sold-out shows and hit recordings, Moore's money slipped through his hands as quickly as it came in. Lavish spending, misguided business choices, and a desperate attempt to fill the emptiness left him buried in debt. Even the church, his sacred refuge, became a battleground. Pastors whispered that they could tell when he wasn't sober before service. His preaching turned frantic, his singing uneven. For those who believed in him, it was painful to watch a man who once sang for heaven, slowly falling into his own personal hell. His family tried to save him over and over again. His wife left and returned, each time clinging to hope that the man she loved would find peace. But every promise of recovery faded like smoke. In the end, the most tragic loss wasn't just his career, it was his connection to the very faith he had shared with millions. Churches stopped calling. Fans turned away. The gospel star who once brought others closer to God could no longer find his own light. James Moore's voice will forever echo in gospel history, not just as a sound of praise, but as a haunting reminder of how even the strongest voices can be silenced by inner pain. Albertina Walker, the queen of gospel and the politics behind the praise. Albertina Walker was celebrated as the queen of gospel, a guiding light who led the caravans and became a mother figure to countless rising voices in gospel music. Her presence on stage radiated grace, strength, and divine purpose. Yet behind the angelic harmonies and her nurturing image, whispers began to circulate, rumors of power, politics, and fierce rivalries within the gospel world she helped build. The drama reportedly began inside the caravans themselves. Former members described an environment far from holy unity, one where singers quietly competed for the spotlight, for the coveted lead parts, and for Walker's favor. Some accused her of playing favorites, creating a rift between those she uplifted and those left in the shadows. While she famously helped launch the careers of Shirley Caesar and Inez Andrews, others claimed Walker's guidance came with strings attached. Contracts that gave her the upper hand and left young talents powerless in shaping their own futures. Allegations soon spread beyond her group. Insiders claimed Walker used her immense influence to make or break careers, even spreading damaging gossip or leveraging her ties with record labels to keep rivals from getting record deals. The gospel community, long believed to be untouched by worldly greed, was shaken by these claims. Church politics added another layer to the storm. Some accused her of using her spiritual connections to gain business advantages, offering church performances in exchange for favors from promoters or record executives. As rumors grew, Walker became increasingly guarded, distancing herself from the very people who once saw her as a mentor. For some, Albertina Walker remained a saintly icon whose influence transformed gospel forever. For others, she embodied the complex truth that even within sacred music, ambition and power can test the soul. Her story reminds us that behind every hallelujah, there may lie a human struggle for control, legacy, and redemption. Reverend Paul Jones, the gospel star silenced by mystery. Reverend Paul Jones was more than just a gospel singer, he was a voice of faith rising from Detroit's soul. His songs carried hope, but his story ended in tragedy. In 1988, the young minister's life was abruptly cut short when he was found shot to death in his car. The scene was haunting, a man devoted to God, gone without explanation. But what truly shook the gospel world wasn't just his death, it was the mystery that followed. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some whispered of secret relationships that could have destroyed his image. Others claimed money disputes or church politics had turned deadly. And then came the darker whispers, that Reverend Jones had been living a double life, hiding secrets that someone wanted buried forever. Friends and church members refused to believe it. To them, Paul was a man of purpose, a devoted minister, driven by his music and his mission. Yet investigators uncovered contradictions, hidden debts, large sums of unexplained cash, and sudden trips to unfamiliar cities. Former bandmates recalled a growing tension in the months before his death. They said he seemed anxious, constantly glancing over his shoulder, haunted by something or someone. He even mentioned receiving threatening calls, his once joyful spirit shadowed by fear. The murder was never solved. But decades later, the story of Reverend Paul Jones still echoes, not just as a tale of faith and fame, but as a chilling reminder that even the brightest lights can fade behind the darkest secrets. Dottie Peoples, the voice of praise and the storm behind the songs. Dottie Peoples built her legacy on uplifting gospel music that moved hearts and lifted souls. To her fans, she was the embodiment of grace, faith, and positivity. But behind the bright lights and Sunday smiles, another story was quietly unfolding, one of ambition, power, and hard-fought battles within the gospel world itself. Whispers began spreading through the industry about heated disputes over money, performance rights, and recognition. Those who once saw her as a beacon of humility were stunned to hear of her fierce confrontations with record labels and fellow artists. Insiders claimed that Dottie, far from being naive, was sharp-minded and business-savvy, a woman who knew her worth and refused to be shortchanged. Former managers described her as demanding, even fiery, when she felt disrespected. Some gospel peers accused her of fighting for radio spots and stage time with the same intensity others saved for prayer. Rumors swirled that she struck secret deals with DJs and program directors to secure better airplay, a move that both elevated her music and complicated her reputation. As her songs climbed the charts, admiration mixed with resentment. Friends turned distant, colleagues grew cautious, and fans were left wondering, was she a victim of the industry's ruthless politics or a fighter who simply refused to be silenced? The contrast between her radiant public image and the storm behind the scenes made Dottie Peoples one of gospel's most controversial and unforgettable figures. Sam Cooke, the gospel star who crossed the line. Before the world knew him as the King of Soul, Sam Cooke was gospel's golden boy, the smooth, heavenly voice leading the soul stirrers, lifting church walls with songs of faith and redemption. But when Sam decided to leave the pulpit for the stage lights, it became one of the most shocking scandals in gospel history. His fall from grace didn't happen overnight. While still touring with the soul stirrers, Sam quietly began recording secular songs under a fake name, hiding his ambitions from fans who saw him as a messenger of God. The revelation hit like a thunderclap. Their beloved gospel hero had been singing love songs in smoky nightclubs while preaching purity on Sundays. Inside the group, tempers flared. Bandmates accused him of betrayal, of abandoning his faith for fame. Church leaders felt deceived, claiming Sam had used their congregations as a stepping stone to the worldly stage. To them, he hadn't just crossed over, he had crossed a sacred line. Some even said he'd sold his soul for success. The fallout reached home. Sam's own family split over his choices. His parents torn between pride and shame, his name whispered in church pews as a cautionary tale. What hurt most wasn't just the gossip, but the silence of friends who could never forgive him. When Sam finally walked away from gospel, he didn't just leave a choir behind. He left behind a community, a calling, and a faith that once defined him. The bridges he burned were never rebuilt, yet from those ashes rose a new voice, one that would forever change American music. Reverend Timothy Wright, the godfather of gospel and the whispers that followed. Reverend Timothy Wright wasn't just a gospel singer, he was a force of nature. Known across the nation as the godfather of gospel, his voice carried the kind of power that could shake a room and move souls to tears. Every note he sang felt like a prayer, every sermon a promise that faith could heal even the deepest wounds. To his congregation and countless fans, he represented strength, loyalty, and devotion, the living embodiment of gospel truth. But behind the pulpit's glow and the choir's thunder, quiet whispers began to rise. Whispers that spoke not of miracles, but of infidelity. For many who revered him, the rumors felt impossible. How could the man who sang of righteousness and family be caught in such human flaws? Wright never confirmed nor denied the talk, choosing silence over defense. Yet, the very existence of those rumors left a shadow across his otherwise shining legacy. It was a sobering reminder that even those who lead the faithful can wrestle with private storms the world was never meant to see. Vanessa Bell Armstrong, the hidden struggle behind the voice of power. Vanessa Bell Armstrong didn't just sing gospel, she lived it. Her voice could move mountains, her stage presence filled every room with fire and faith. To the audience, she was the definition of strength, a woman whose sound seemed to rise straight from heaven itself. But behind that divine voice was a storm few ever saw. Away from the spotlight, Vanessa battled health problems that tested her spirit and financial hardships that nearly broke her. She carried her pain quietly, determined to protect the image of grace and strength her fans adored. Yet when her private struggles finally came to light, the world saw a different kind of hero, not one untouched by suffering, but one who sang through it. Her journey reminds us that even the brightest voices can echo from places of deep struggle, and that faith sometimes means singing your heart out even when it's breaking. Kirk Franklin, the gospel giant who faced his darkest confession. For years, Kirk Franklin was the golden child of gospel music, the man who made church sound modern and faith feel alive. His fusion of hip-hop beats and sacred messages broke barriers and brought millions closer to God. On stage, he was confident, joyful, untouchable. But behind that radiant smile, Franklin was fighting a silent war. In a moment that stunned the gospel world, he confessed to a long and painful battle with pornography addiction, a struggle that had shadowed his faith and family for years. His honesty shattered the polished image fans thought they knew. Yet in that vulnerability, Franklin revealed something greater than perfection, the courage to confront shame and bring light into his darkest corner. His confession wasn't just a fall from grace, it was proof that even the strongest believers can wrestle with weakness, and that healing begins only when truth is spoken aloud. Thomas Dorsey, the man who brought the blues to church. Thomas Andrew Dorsey didn't just write songs, he changed the very sound of American faith. Known today as the father of gospel music, Dorsey fused the raw ache of the blues with the spiritual fire of the church, creating a new sound that moved hearts and filled pews across the nation. His journey from smoky nightclubs to sacred pulpits became a story of redemption, a sinner turned messenger of hope. But behind the hymns that lifted souls, whispers never stopped. Some said Dorsey never truly left the blues behind, that its rhythm and temptation still pulsed through his melodies and maybe even through his life. To the purists who wanted gospel untouched by the world, that was a scandal. Yet that tension between sin and salvation, between Saturday night and Sunday morning, was exactly what made his music immortal. Dorsey's story reminds us that faith doesn't always bloom in purity. Sometimes, it grows out of pain, imperfection, and the long road back home. Aretha Franklin, the gospel before the glory. Before she was crowned the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin was just a young girl standing in the echo of her father's church, her voice trembling yet divine. Born into a home filled with sermons, music, and spiritual fire, she grew up surrounded by the sound of salvation. The church became her first stage, her father's pulpit her spotlight. It was there that the seed of her greatness was planted. But behind the hymns and hallelujahs was a more complicated story. Beneath that sacred light were shadows, whispers of teenage pregnancies and relationships that many believed should have been impossible within the walls of faith. Those who once imagined her youth as pure and sheltered were left speechless by what they later learned. Aretha's rise from gospel prodigy to soul legend was not a straight path. It was marked by heartbreak, silence, and resilience, a testament to a young woman who refused to let pain define her voice. Because in the end, it wasn't her secrets that shaped her legacy, it was her strength to keep singing through them. Thank you for watching. If you believe her story deserves to be remembered, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, so her truth, her music, and her spirit will live on forever.